Whew. Well, good evening from the tiny house. I've been chipping away at several little bits in here, in and around work and other things. And I'll give you a catch up of what's been going on in the tiny house. So, you might notice from this, but the kitchen counter, I've altered it a bit. So the oven now fits. I can put the lid on the oven, and this also lifts up. So this will lift up, it'll be on hinges at some point, and also this can lift up. So that's something I've done. I did chop into this, which was a bit nerve-wracking, but this held. But unfortunately the sink side did not, because my plan was with the sink. So with the sink, I cut out this on an angle, and the reason why I wanted to keep this kitchen counter not in one piece, but just so I could use it as one piece, was so it gave me more surface area to do things, because obviously I'm not always going to be using the oven top, I'm not always going to be using the kitchen sink. So my plan was here to put that on a hinge, and also this will sit in there, which is why I wanted to cut it on an angle so it would sit nicely in there, which it just about does. Unfortunately I'm not the best jigsaw cutter, but it's pretty much worked. In the future I think I may alter this kitchen counter, but it'll do for now, because at this point with the tiny house build I'm just trying to get it done. But as I was sawing, these bits came off, just because this kitchen counter is 5 bits of floorboards all glued together, and obviously the closer I got to the edge the weaker it is. So I'll just glue these on, and then when I treat it to make it as a usable surface as a kitchen counter, I'll just double check that it fits. But that's where I'm currently at with the kitchen counter. So yeah, that's the plan. So it will all sit there as one kitchen countertop, and I will also have a bit of storage under there and below. But now that's done, I can now hook up do a bit of plumbing, which I haven't really tackled before. But I should have all the pieces. This is just your average kitchen sink tap, and the mixers in there, and then the hot and cold. So I had to get some John Guest adapters to go on the end, but hopefully I'll be able to connect them there. And obviously I need to get a U-bend and sort the drainage system out so it links up with the shower, but it's getting there, literally piece by piece with this tiny house. So I've been slowly chipping away at that. And something else I've been doing is sorting out the utility box on the front. So this kind of evolved through various ideas of how to have a kind of hinge door on the front of the utility box, because obviously it can't swing out forwards because of the handbrake on the hitch at the front of the tiny house. So I looked at getting like a tambour door which would roll up as a shutter, but then a good friend suggested why don't I just box it all in, just because with the gas canister I have, I'll be having to change that tops twice a year. So I went to B&Q, got 2 boards of 12mm plywood, cut them down to size, and they just fit width way, thankfully, and they just about cover the gap. So at the minute I've just been treating those and prepping them to be outside, and I will eventually put knobs on them just for cosmetic purposes, so it looks like a door but it's not actually going to be a door, it's just going to be screwed in place. So that's where I'm up to with the utility box. My sister and I were going to have a bake off, but she's going away to India, so that'll have to wait. I've done some plumbing in the bathroom. I need to buy the shower tray and the bathroom panel walls, but apart from there that's all good. I have one bit of good news though. Well, all my news is good I guess, but if you've been following my tiny house journey for a while, you know that I had to move it from its original place for various reasons. So I was lucky to find someone who said I could park it on their land, but the national park said I could only park it there for 4 months, and that ran out at the end of August this year. So that kind of followed a back and forwards emails with the national parks, and thank you to Max for writing a email which ended up in them saying that I could leave it here for the following year, which is great, which will give me plenty of time to finish the tiny house, touch wood, and I don't have to worry about moving the tiny house for a year, which is relief, which is a huge relief. So now I can focus on the rest of the build and not have to worry about moving it. So yeah, back to work. The frame. They kind of feel like like cowboy saloon doors, but those were some leaf doors I got free from the app Trash Nothing. And my thinking here is the fact that whilst they'll act as a door to the bathroom, they will hopefully, my plan is that they'll hinge obviously inwards and they'll cover the left hand side of that corner, so which is where the shower will be. So my thinking there is that throughout my life I kind of like lived in, from travelling and working, lived in shared accommodation. And when you live in shared accommodation where the toilet and the shower are in the same room, while someone's having a shower, someone can't use the loo. So from that experience, this door will hopefully hinge through onto the left, enabling, if there's two people in the tiny house, one whilst they're in the shower, the second person can then use the bathroom. Of course, the tiny house isn't going to have a huge water capability, so any shower in here is going to be quite swift, but that was the original thinking with the leaf doors, which I think these were one of the first things I picked up for the tiny house, which is quite fun to actually get them in place, but they do feel quite cowboy-esque. My plan was to obviously clean them and then spray paint them white. I'm not sure if I quite like the darker shade of wood. But no, it's quite fun to see them in place. Normal plug, not plug, this is just your average kitchen sink.